Morning, Leanne.
Morning, Ben.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for asking.
Well, I did say quite a long time ago that if there was any way I could help, that
Yeah.
I'd like to. And I suggested this, and I'm not sure how much help it would be. But if it means that you're getting your story out there a bit more about the things that are going on in Bristol, hopefully creates a bit of
Yeah,
awareness.
thank you.
No, that's right. You're more than welcome. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's jump straight into it. So, first of all, can you remember how we first met?
City of Bristol College
Yeah.
in it was an event in the Winter Gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't normally remember things that well. I remember you
Right.
come up and I remember exactly what you said. But go on.
Yeah, I can't remember what
I
I said.
remember you come at me going, oh, this is unusual. You actually look like your LinkedIn picture. I was like, what?
That's me. Straight to the point.
All right, how you doing?
Oh gosh.
Straight to
Yeah,
the point.
that's me. I'm just straight and very transparent. That's me.
That's what I like. And
Thank
to be honest
you.
with you. If a lot of other people are very straight, we might get to a
Yeah.
solution to things a bit quicker.
Yep.
So I'm just going to ask you a few questions now about what it was like for you growing up. Do you want to give us a bit of a story about the challenges and the positives
Yeah.
that you faced growing up?
I had a really good childhood. I grew up with both mum and dad. I have brothers, no sisters. And I went to school, kind of. I went to school and I didn't go to school. I didn't do very good with exams. When I went into exams, I was terrible. I resit my exams at 26 so that I found my pathway. So I wanted to go into health and social care. And I resit my exams, my maths and my English. I worked my way up in health and social care to become an assessor. And then I challenged myself. And I done petals so that I could actually.
So just in case.
Yeah, that's lifelong learning. So I could actually teach. So I done that part because at the time it was key skills. Don't know if you remember key skills with maths and English.
Oh,
so
I remember not doing it.
Yeah, when you done vocational course, you needed your maths and English.
Yeah.
So that was the pathway I went in, and then I was out assessing in care homes, and then I decided I didn't want to do it no more. I wanted to go back into a lower level. So then I went back into support work.
Let me take you back a little bit. Though. So,
Yeah.
what community was it you grew up in? What school? Kind of paint the picture of where you grew up. What school did you go to? What kind of things were you doing when you were younger?
So I grew up in many different areas, and most of my time I spent in Knoll West as a young girl. And I went, like I said, I went to school when I wanted to go to school, kind of thing. But it was, I found it challenging, and I didn't really learn. I didn't want to learn.
What was the challenges, if you don't mind me asking?
I just didn't like it. Anything I could do that. I was kind of naughty, I suppose. If I was told to do something, I didn't like to do it. I didn't like rules. And I left home at 18. So I left home and I went to live in East Bristol. And I lived with a family, and yeah, they were kind of naughty as well. So that's the best thing I can. That's the best way to describe it.
Okay. How did that impact on your
So
kind of view on the world?
I knew about the criminal justice system from a young age, really, from like 16, 17. I wasn't particularly into criminality, but I was around people that was doing it. And yeah, I can vividly remember doors coming off with police running in, and we're having to stand there. And the whole property's being searched. And it's scary. It was frightening because they just come in. It's like a whirlwind. They come in, they search the house, and they leave and take who they need to take. And I wasn't part of it, but I was in the mix of it. And I had a partner when I was 18 who was stabbed and left for dead in the streets in Easton. And he was into criminality, and that was his lifestyle. The street was his life, and he turned his life around and he moved away. And I left Bristol. So at 21, I left. and I'm grateful for it, really. I left and went to London for 12 years,
Wow. Okay.
and I got away from certain mixes of people that I was moving with and just got onto my career pathway. And yeah,
Well, when you were younger, were you saying that school didn't really work so well for you? Was there other things out of school that you were doing that were positive, or literally it was you were out on the streets and you ended up kind of getting to know different people and hanging out in certain circles, and basically what you've just said?
yeah, I wasn't really on the street. I wouldn't say I was on the street. Because if I went to school, we called it knocked off, and then we used to go and sit up Broad Walk.
Hmm.
So I wasn't really roaming the streets. I still had to go home. And my parents were very disciplined and strict, so
Hmm.
I paid consequences for it. So I would be grounded, and
Hmm.
like I'd have to stay in, and dad would take me back to school. I was
Hmm.
excluded a few times. I had an issue with fire alarms. So
What, setting them off
yeah,
or listening to
yeah.
them?
No, I had an issue with it. So I used to set them off quite random. Like when I was at school, I just like set the fire alarms off. Then I'd
Ah.
try and lie to my dad because they'd be like, she's got to be excluded. And I vividly remember I was excluded, and my father took me back to school the next day and
Hmm.
said, she's not staying home because she's done it because she wants to be at home.
Yeah, well,
So
that's the
he said
thing.
I
You
had to
know
sit.
that you can get
Yeah.
home now, can't you?
So I had to sit outside the headmaster's office for the whole week and do my work because
Hmm.
my dad put me back there and said she's
Where
not
did you
staying
go?
home.
Was it Angrove or
I was in Brislington.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it was Brislington at the time.
Yeah,
So yeah, my dad took me back and I had to sit outside the headmaster's office for the week
yeah.
because he said I wasn't staying at home. So well, yeah, it didn't work.
Well, these things we get through help shape us and form
Yeah.
us, don't they? And
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk more about that now, about what you've gone on to do. But I mean, I suppose one other thing to say about when you were growing up. Do you feel like you had your voice heard when you were growing up as a young person by the rest of the community, by other people that are surrounding you, by
I didn't
adults?
really think about it, to be honest.
But when you reflect on it now, do
Yeah,
you
but
feel
I
like you
don't
did?
think so. I just think you just got on with it. I think everything was so quiet. Like you're hearing about things now, and I think the times have changed so
Hmm.
much, and things were happening, but it was quiet. Like sex offenders, like we heard about it, but it was very like, oh, you mustn't talk about it. And there was grooming. When I really think about it, there was grooming. Like we
Hmm.
used to go out in cars with like older men. They'd pick us up, we'd go out in cars. And that's grooming. But we
Still
didn't
happens now,
know.
doesn't it?
Yeah. And we didn't actually know until you get to an adult and you've got children of your own. And I sit down and think, do you know what? Like they buy you a meal or take you out in a car. It is
Yeah, of
effectively
course it is. Yeah.
grooming, but you just didn't know. And it's like unheard of, but it's been happening. It's been happening for years. But
Hmm.
we just didn't really, I don't think I fully we understood, or it was kept quiet.
Why do you think that it's, and I'm not saying it is more understood now, but I'm guessing because you said it was quieter,
Yeah.
why do you think those kind of things were not spoken about so much back then compared to maybe now?
I
That's
just think it's like like it was losing face, and then like it's a stigma. So you'd have that family would take that, and it's quite It's the embarrassment that the family have to deal with.
Hmm.
So it's best that you just keep quiet and don't say nothing, and
And that's where the trauma kicks in, because you're
and you try
holding
and
it all
contain
in,
it
aren't
in
you?
the house and not let no one know. And there's
Hmm.
something really serious going on.
Brutal.
Yeah.
That perfectly lines us up to, I mean, now that the thing that I'm really interested in knowing about, because I know you've been doing some great stuff and I see things happening across the city, and I
Yeah.
know you're really passionate about it. And the thing
Yeah.
that comes across to me is you're real, authentic, and you want to make a difference.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we all do those things in different ways, and some of those things might not be everyone's cup of tea and how
Yeah.
we talk about stuff. But the point is, you 100% are committed to making a difference. And I just wonder whether you could kind of talk us through the jobs that you've done and how you got to this point and what it is that you're doing and
Yeah.
what you're trying to achieve.
So I left school and I went into travel and tourism, believe it or not.
Mhm.
And I didn't succeed with that because I had to do it was YTS, so youth
Yeah.
training scheme.
Yeah.
And I had to do one day at college. And then after college, you'd have to return back to work. And I used to go home. So I lost that job.
There's a theme.
Yes. Yeah.
Did your dad pick you up?
And then I went I found like I went to London, and then I got into health and social care.
Mm.
So I was like 21. Went to London. I got into health and social care, and I worked my way up, like I said. And I was out in the community a lot in London, across the community, north, south, east. And then I piloted a scheme, which a lot of people wouldn't know about. So I piloted a scheme in a further education college. So they were campus officers alongside the Metropolitan Police.
Mm.
So we had training, and it was because of the rise of violence. So there was a lot of violence going on, and there was a lot of different rivalry from different cultures.
Mm.
So I stayed there for 6 years. So I was a female campus officer, and had regular training. So we searched people on arrival to college. We had wands where we would wand someone down to see if they were carrying
Okay.
weapons. And then I I then traveled. So I went to different, I had two children. I traveled a little bit with the children. Then
Mm.
I come back to Bristol, and I started working in colleges
Mm.
with young people. Um, and then there was two tragic murders in Bristol with two students that I knew from the college. And the second one, I just realized that I think we were going into crisis,
Mm.
and I couldn't understand, and I couldn't get my head around why we were going down that route where so many people were carrying weapons. Um, and the second murder of Dante Davis in the city in 2021, there was community meetings. So I've never been to anything like that. I've just kept myself to myself. And then I went to the community meetings. I went to one in St. Paul's, and then I went to one in Hassel Drive in Easton, and I met the crime commissioner at the time. It was Mark Shelford.
Mm.
And I initially said, look, we've got knife surrender bins in your police stations. I've spent a long time trying to get children out of police stations. Can we have them in communities? So they were funded, and there's 4 out at present. But then I'd done a bit of research. So I went back. So I went to London, I went to Birmingham, and I then come across the Daniel Bard Foundation,
Mm.
and met Lynn Bard, which is Daniel's mum. And
Mm.
she invented the first public access bleed kit
Mm.
after her son was murdered. So she invented it with West Midlands ambulance team and trauma team. And I then thought, is it something that we could potentially bring to Bristol, as a preventative whilst you're waiting for emergency services?
Mm.
So then I started that route, um, and I went and met the NHS. I don't know how I got there, but I did. I met someone high up in the NHS and was like, I want to bring this
Well, I
to
can guess how you
Bristol.
got
I
there.
don't know.
Passion and drive.
I still can't
It must
believe
be.
it. I'm still like to this day. So then I was
Mm.
granted £20,000, and I didn't know what to do. So I was like, wow, what do I do? Because I was just a community member and I couldn't
Yeah.
take the money. I had nothing behind me. So then I approached Avon and Somerset Police.
Mm.
And I said, look, I want to do this. And that's where it all come from. So we brought the Daniel Bard bleed kits to Bristol. And then from that, I've just been rolling them out and training, awareness training, so that people know how to use it if they ever had to. So they are for any catastrophic bleed. Um, and yeah, it's just progress. So I've started that 3 years ago. I've been running my own CIC for 6 months, totally community funded and fundraising. Um, and I just go out there and show in the community and how to use that Daniel Bard kit, just in case you have to, and go into schools and education, but mainly not mainstream schools. I generally do like ALP, alternative learning, and I even go out and set up a stall in places where there's young people hanging around, but they're not in education where they should be. So I'll
Mm.
just knock up and just be like, look, this is a kit. And I've done that quite a few times. Um, and then a year ago, I partnered with Tyrell from Be Excellence,
Mm.
and we developed a workshop together where we go out and we deliver. So he's lived experience, and he does contextual risk and targeting and exploitation. And I bring the bleed kit into it. So it's a totally unique service that's been brought and developed in Bristol together.
That's amazing, and it obviously comes from the right. And this is what I was saying at the beginning. Really,
Yeah.
you can tell it comes from the right place, trying to make a
Yeah, it's
difference. And
if not yeah.
it's not easy, is it, to get
No,
anything
it's
off
been
the
really
ground?
difficult and it's been challenging,
Mm,
and now it's developed into a CIC.
mm,
It is part of it is a job,
mm,
and but for 3 years it was just battling, and it wasn't like you can't just pick something up and bring it to Bristol, and I had to focus on how I'm going to deliver it. They are public accessible. You don't need any form of training. You should be able to pick one up and use it.
mm,
But I like people to know what's in it, because when you're actually in that situation, it's not as easy as you think when you're traumatized and a
yeah.
lot's going on. Um, I think you need to know what's in it before, and hopefully you never have to use one. But they have been used. So we've had them used twice in
Yeah.
our city,
Yeah.
and it saved 2 lives. One was 12 and one was 30. So it's
So we know that they're worthwhile and
yeah,
they're needed. I mean, I know we were talking for ages off
I know.
off camera.
Yeah.
There was some real gold going on there.
Yeah.
But there's something I think that we should really talk about is a little bit about, yes, the stuff you do in the Bleed Kit is really needed. But as we were saying before, there's other things that are needed. Do you
Yeah.
want to give a bit more of an overview about what you think has worked with supporting young people not to be involved in knife crime, and what are some of the challenges?
Yeah, there's really good interventions that are already out. So there
Mm.
are as many people in the community and community organizations that is working with these young people. Not every intervention works for one person.
Mm.
So I believe we have to have hope. You could
Mm.
actually take a young person, refer them, and that might not be they might not want to do that intervention, but it's not to give up on them. And I
Mm.
also feel that what I noticed when I worked with a young student in Bristol, other interventions were working with them, but we weren't aware. And we found out when it was too late. And
Mm.
that's really sad, because I think there needs to be some kind of structure, and it needs to be standardized where, like, if you do a risk assessment for an offender, where
Mm.
that we all know that we're working with this young person,
Mm.
Leanne's doing this, Ben's doing that. So we all know. And I think we should bring it more partnership, more in together, because when you find out that, oh, they were working with him and you were, and you didn't know, that's very
Mm.
difficult, and they don't need too many. I think
Mm.
that the problem here, we try and get them into so many different things, is actually confusing for a young person. Whereas you try an intervention, and it needs to be a package. It's
Yeah.
back to personal centered planning, where it's around that person, but then it has to evolve around the family. So you can look after that individual, the young person, but then their family. They've got a mum, dad, and the siblings. I think it needs to be a whole package of care, because it's not
Yeah.
easy and it's challenging, you know?
I mean, I'd kind of argue a little bit that there's so many, and at one point we were doing loads of mentoring with young people involved in
Yeah.
serious and violent crime. Um, and it worked sometimes and it didn't work in other times.
Yeah.
But the thing was, it's like, it feels like you said, there'd be a number of different organizations doing different things, which could all be great. I'm not saying
Yeah.
like there's nothing
No,
like
no, there's
negative
nothing
about what
wrong.
people are
Yeah.
doing, but I'd say when we know what the thing is that they engage with, instead of having one organization doing one thing one day and another doing another thing another day,
Yeah.
that person who has built that relationship that young person really engages with, that wants to be
Definitely.
part of,
Yeah. Needs to hold it.
make sure,
Yeah.
instead of having multiple things going on, that they are seeing them multiple times a week.
Yeah.
Because the impact's going to come from that young person opening up about what the different things
Yeah,
are
that's
happening
correct.
for
Yeah.
them.
It's having
And
that
then they can
safe
support them
person.
into these different things that other people are
Yeah.
doing. Otherwise, it's too sporadic. And like you
Yeah.
said, like
It's too
young people live
much.
in chaos a lot of the
Yeah.
time involved in this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Suddenly have multiple things going on doesn't help, does it?
No, it's too much for them. And they're young. They're still young, and they're just they are going through a learning process. It's having that safe person. So when we go out, me and Tyrell will teach them, have a safe person that you can talk to. Have a person that you can relate to that doesn't want nothing from you.
Mm.
So you find that person. It could be your mum, it could be your mentor, but someone that doesn't want nothing from you except for you to actually get to your goals and your aspirations.
Mm.
But yeah, it's when sometimes when there's too many.
I
It
mean,
can be
I feel
quite
like
complicated.
we could talk. Like I spoke
Yeah.
to a number of people, and it does. Sadly, it just feels like everyone is on the same energy, and we're saying the same things,
Yeah, it's
and it's probably
meetings.
the
It's
same
just the same
things.
thing. You go to
Could be.
meetings, it's the same thing. Change has to come, and it
Mm,
has to come from a high level. We're
mm.
sat in communities, and it's like we're trying to hold things, and we are community members, and we've brought things together that are working. But then when you take it to the next level of authority, it's like sometimes I feel like you're banging your head against the wall. It's the politest way to put it.
Yeah. Can I ask you? I mean, what things do you feel like are working, and what challenges are you coming up against to try and kind of make these things more accessible? That
So it's turning into like everybody feels that we should have multiple bleed kits, which is fine, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
when you say multiple, as in lots of them, or
Yeah,
different varieties,
there's
or what?
different varieties of bleed kits that are coming now into Bristol.
Mm,
And you don't need it, not necessarily. One works. We know it works. It's been
mm.
invented by the professionals and it works. So that's happening.
Why do you think that's happening? I don't.
I don't know. But it's medical equipment, and I'm quite passionate. Like you said, I'm quite passionate about it. It's not about jealousy, or
Mm,
it's a piece of medical equipment. It's
mm,
not something that we should just be sat down and whacking something together and putting it in a bag and putting it out in the city. And I'm
mm,
not saying that's happening, but there are variety. And I feel you need education.
mm,
Education is the key. So you need
mm,
to actually work with individuals and teach them how to use things. You could put out multiple, but if they don't know what it is in there, and that's where there's going to be issues, because there's different varieties
Oh,
with
when you
different
use them
contents. Yeah.
differently. Oh.
And some's got, like, for instance,
That is a problem. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
So a Daniel Bard kit got a chest seal in. A police kit does not have a chest seal in. So it's very, if you grab one kit and it's not got what you think it's got in, it could become quite dangerous.
mm,
And what's working is the interventions. And I think we need to be looking at lower levels, like working very closely with education, because from like the ages of 6 and 7, you can start seeing things. And everyone's like, oh, we can't go to that age, but that's where you should be looking at, because in schools, they can start seeing things that maybe doesn't look right, and
mm.
then start working with that family and that individual to see what's going on. Is there something that we can help you with, like the safeguarding? And sometimes interventions take too long, so you make referrals, and they might be referring like 10 people to the same organization when there's others out there which is equally as good. And I feel it shouldn't just one fits all.
It's an age old thing. It's difficult. I mean, really, the voluntary sector, you've got so many people that and organisations that are all trying to do not necessarily the same thing, but similar kind of things. And having all that stuff tied together so everyone knows what
Yeah.
everyone's doing is an age old nightmare. You've
Yeah.
got people that are trying to do that, and it's no good to go like that. But
No.
that's the truth. And things are
Yeah.
changing. It's a fast changing world, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
and things change all the time, and that information never really gets out to everyone, because a lot of smaller, organisations don't have the capacity to be at all these multiple meetings that are here,
No.
there, and everywhere. So
And it's too many
how would you
meetings,
how
and
would
then
you
it's
know?
not joined up. You can sit in a meeting
Mm,
and, like, hopefully, I'm hoping change is coming. So we have a new crime commissioner, Claire
mm,
Moody. We're
mm,
at the serious violence unit. We've had that anyway, which is
mm,
governed and commissioned by the
mm,
crime commissioner. So I'm hoping they've brought in the one city.
mm.
So let's see if this is going to make a
There
change,
are things. There
because
are other things as
yeah,
well, and I know that there's always going to be things that we can say, "Oh, well, that's going really well, and that isn't going well."
yeah,
The South Youth and Play Partnership, and that'd be across the city. And I
yeah,
know everyone have their views on these things, but
yeah.
the point is they're trying. You've got the Youth Work Alliance. People are trying to bring things together, but trying to do that doesn't necessarily build the capacity of others that might not be able to be around that table.
No.
That's no one's fault. That's just the nature of the
Yeah,
beast.
that's right. Yeah.
Really, more than anything else, it comes from government being able to kind of
And it's
actually
having more
fund and
money,
create
more
a
funding to go
system that
back
is
in.
widespread, that works
Yeah.
for everyone.
And it's having it also, I feel the funding has not been it's not been fair over many, many years. It's just been given
But if
out.
you're not at the
And
table,
Well, yeah,
you're not
you're
going
not
to
going to
hear
get
about
it,
it.
but
Do you know what I mean?
it's not been fair. It's not being it's not being monitored, and I think
Who's
it,
accountable?
that's what I would like to know. And I've asked that question many times because I've sat there and it's popped up, and I'm like, you've got all this money, but where's it going? And I know we're separated. Where you've got South Gloss, you've got Avon in Somerset, you've got all these different. I know they have to separate it, but I just think if something works, let it work and fund it. And especially when you, like you said, you've got grassroots, you've got people from within that community that are respected, they are known. Let them continue what they're doing and fund them, and make sure that the money's there to pay the staff so that it continues. Because something in Knoll West might not work in St. Paul's or Southmead. So we have to
You
have that
tailor the
options.
response,
That's
don't you,
it, yeah.
to the needs. And I guess something else, based on what you just said then, it's really, really difficult because, like, obviously everyone's trying to continue to do the work that matters, that they see that works.
Yeah.
But a lot of funders don't want to refund something that's already been delivered.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's painful
It's
because it's
awful.
the things that are making a difference is surely what we're all about. That's what we're all trying to do. But if you've done something that's worked, a lot of funders don't want to refund something you've already done. It's just
I've
like,
not
what?
got-
So you've got to recreate the wheel?
I've not got to this route yet with funding, so I've not.
It's a beast.
Yeah,
I just
I've
find it hard to entertain it.
I've not been funded. I've got community backing and fundraising. I spend a lot of my own time actually out there fundraising and trying
but
to
that
put
takes
back.
its toll. That takes
Yeah.
its toll, and that in a world, in a community society that actually is looking out for everyone, you shouldn't have to do that.
No, I hear it all the time. I get it from other.
Others shouldn't have to.
But you give up so much time, so much of your own time. Like, I don't think people realize. And it's just so that the awareness is out there. I really want people to know this is what I do, and I am very grateful for it. But there's only, like you said, there's only a limited time you can do it. I was doing it for 3 years before I set up a CIC because I didn't want to go down that route, and I didn't expect. I didn't realize the violence would increase at the level it has, which is scary, and it is crisis point. But it's a way I've had to go, and I've had a lot of support through doing that because I've sat down and people are like, this is what you have to do. You can't give your time. You can't keep doing things for free. You have to, we all have to put food on the table. And it is very competitive, and it gets very like,
well, that's the fact.
nature of the game, but it's a job.
It shouldn't be a game, should it?
No, but it is. And it is difficult. And I've not even applied for no funding. I haven't even started that yet.
Well, look, you're probably going to need to. I hate to tell you this because, like I tell you, obviously you need to put food on the table, and you deserve to be paid for what you're doing. But I mean, I can tell you from personal experience, it's not that straightforward. And the problem is that most people that get into a lot of this stuff that starts something small are generally people that just want to make a difference on the ground. And then suddenly you're dealing with having to do other things that may or may not be your skill set, but your passion is doing that. So my advice, not that it counts so much, is if you can, try and bring other people in to be part of something at the beginning, so you've got multiple people that are really invested in it, because otherwise it will always end up being on you, and people will always just look at you to do all those things, and it's just
you
not.
Couldn't manage it. It's not manageable.
I know that it's not sustainable.
No.
So now is the time to try and bring those different people in to do different things. Anyway, like, what do I know? But what I would like to know about is what you know. And I think one of the things from all the stuff you've been doing, you're very close on the ground to what's happened when there's been different knife crime incidents and different things that have happened, murders and across the city, not just in South. Can you talk us through how you think communities are feeling? Can you talk us about how young people are feeling? Because I think this is what people need to know, the reality.
Reality is they get left behind. So, and I always talk about this. So we have an incident. It may be that the person is seriously injured, or they may lose their life. An investigation, it's very, police investigate, they leave. They're there for multiple days or whatever, they leave. And then we have communities left behind. And that's where there needs to be an approach, immediate approach. So it's like it's a major incident and it needs to be all put together. So then, for instance, in the Southwest, when there was an incident that happened, come together with all the people that are working in them areas and all the community organizations, and then you make a plan around a table and lead out what you can lead out throughout them periods of time. But I think we're missing something. I think everything goes away and you're just left to deal with it. So there's people that it could have happened on their street. Kids could have seen it, or they could go to school and be hearing about it. I think it's good to talk, and I think children and people should be encouraged to talk. There are advice and there are referrals that can be made, which is really important, because you might think you're okay, but you're actually not. But you wouldn't realize necessarily, you wouldn't know that you need some kind of help.
Is there a way then? Because I'm just from doing this work for 11 years, youth and community work and engaging lots of younger people. People might want to do things, but there's always different barriers, and even completing forms is sometimes a barrier.
Yeah.
So I think we were chatting off air, weren't we, about the recent murders that happened in Knoll West, and I was saying about a young person that done Minigap, a program with us, was out on the street in Knoll West where he lives, trying to help with CPR and all the rest of it. Now, I know for a fact he hadn't spoke to anyone. He was trying to help, a kid that had pretty much died on the spot. Yeah. Is he going to ask for help?
Most probably not. No.
Is he going to complete those? So, and I don't know what the answer is, but I don't know what is there, because you're basically talking about trauma informed, aren't you? Like support for young people, adults, people in the community, to help them try and deal with the things that they've seen or the feelings that are happening in the community. Do you know what is happening with that?
So there is quite the NHS. So I put quite a lot out on my Facebook page. So there is places, but they have to reach out. It's not necessarily that the people are going to come to them. I have spoken to some people that have been traumatized through incidents that have happened across the city, and I've give them little cards or give them little hint, like little where they can go and get the initial step would be to your GP, but we all know you can't get a GP appointment. But I just think there needs to be something where that approach needs to happen. I think we and health organizations need to go to them, that we shouldn't ask for them to come to us. So I'm hoping that in a few months that something might come out where we are able to bring it to the community. So it's actually to engage in communities is to come to them, like the NHS, to bring out people from the NHS. Don't you can't expect them to come to you. And that's where
multiple reasons why they might
it's
or
quite,
might not.
Yeah. And also there needs to be more engagement. Like the police, you need to get back at, like I've always said, they need to come back out on their feet. We want to see them. Like they just come when it's an incident, and it's not good, because when you see multiple police cars, you don't see them on foot no more, and you see it, you know that something's happened. That's traumatizing in itself, and it's quite triggering for people that have already gone through something. Whereas it's quite unusual to see two police walking up the street now, but hopefully that's going to happen. But we need the teams to come out. Come to our communities. We shouldn't have to come to you. And I don't think you should most people don't even see a hospital until they're hurt. That's another thing. Like, come out and talk to. So there is work going on within the NHS to actually bring different departments and different staff from like trauma and like clinicians and psychiatrists out to the community.
I wonder, I'm just thinking out loud, and again, these things might be happening, so it's just like, me saying it might be like, well, what you're on about, it is happening. But it's just even things like particularly when it happened up in Knoll West, recently, Max and Mason, and then, there's quite a lot of people rallying around doing different things. I know that we put out a few extra detached sessions, and we're trying to support in whatever way we could, which, how much impact that has, I don't know, but you can only try, can't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But part of that thing could have been the streets where it happened. And I know it's not just people that are going to be traumatized on that street, but like you said, literally door knocking, and it could be door knocking with a detached team of youth workers, whatever, that will know people in the community, and with trauma informed practitioners that are practically asking people, is there something that we can do to support? And then going into
It
houses and talking.
happened, yeah.
Did
It
that happen?
happened, and it was
Was there much uptake, or
the church. So it
which
was
is
the
a positive
church,
thing, but
yeah.
not everyone's gonna.
I
It's
think
not
it's
universal
something
for
that
everyone's
maybe can
needs.
be developed, so we can talk
Mm,
about that, because I think if you get the right, if you get the right set of people with the right skills, that's something that can be developed. So
mm.
that's something we can look at
People
where we can
from.
develop it and go out, because I think that means so much when
Mm,
you just go and turn up to a stranger. So I've done it
mm,
after an incident which was in town, East Bristol,
mm,
and I went in and I asked the person, "Are you okay?"
mm,
And she was like, "You're the first person to come and ask that."
mm.
And I said, and I explained who I was and what I do. And we just had a little cup of coffee and a conversation, because she thought she was okay, but she's actually not.
Mm,
And whereas another incident where the Daniel Bar bleed kit was used in a stabbing,
mm,
I got the message within 2 hours that the kit had been used by the person.
mm.
And I asked them about their debriefing. And this person was the executive. So she was like, "What am I going to do? Debrief myself?" And there was other people. And I took my time and went down and done a debrief that night. So there was people there that tried to help and witnessed
Do you want to
it.
explain the debrief just in case people
Yeah,
don't?
so basically you go through an incident that have happened. They all get chance to talk. So they all talked and
Mm,
got out what had happened and how they were feeling. There was anger, there was emotion. And then we just talked, and then I gave them advice on where they can go.
mm,
And it didn't stop there, because I've actually built up a partnership with that little organization and the community that uses it.
mm.
Just to reassure them that the person lived, but they may not have. So we had to look at what could have happened and how it went. And it worked really well. The feedback was really good. So that's why, and it's like Bleed Kit and Beyond, because
But
it's
that's
actually a
showing what
service.
works. That
Yeah.
and and the follow up and all the
But
rest of
also
it.
when it goes wrong, we need to look at another way, because you might need more support, like you said, and more people bringing in interventions, because you're going to need it. It's not always going to work. Unfortunately, it's not going to always work.
Mm,
And we have to look at it. If it doesn't work, how do we approach that situation?
mm.
But door knocking and just asking someone, it's not hard to ask someone, "Are you okay?" You know, because it
Did
seems
you
to
have
be,
many people coming? Because I think, again, it's just like it's easy to bloody sit at home and then go la 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 la
yeah,
la, and I think I've done a bit of that because like, I want out at that point. Other
yeah.
staff were out doing the sessions, but it's things like there was lots of different community meetings that were put on. Was there anything that was an open space for people from the community to come and just talk that was obviously like guided and
Yeah, there
supported by
was.
some
There has been.
and
Yeah.
but has anything, because that's exactly the moment where the potential support
Yeah.
can come from that doesn't have to be led by multiple organizations that are all there kind of like saying they
I
do this
think
that
it
and the other,
happens and then it all goes away. Like you meant to forget about it.
and that's
And
not
that's
organizations fault, that's
no,
like that's the
that I
nature of
think
it needs to be a
that's initially
government
what I've
thing,
seen across the
a police
city.
thing.
Everything's open. It might be for a week or 2 weeks, and then what happens after that? It goes very quiet. And then people are scrapping around looking for someone to talk to.
Who's
So
accountable for that, do you think?
I would say, me personally, I would say it's got to be the council. I would say it's something that they can
Mm,
actually put something together and look at, like back in the day, you'd get like going back old school, you get like a white page booklet, which tells you all the organizations in Bristol that can help you. And I think
mm,
we need to kind of go back to this.
mm,
Whereas not everyone's on the internet. Not everyone wants to sit on there because sometimes it's triggering. But
mm,
I think we need something where you can actually give to people and say, there is, and spend that time with them. And maybe an intervention where an open space is open. Something's happened last month, but what are we doing this month? Because it's not gone away. And some
mm,
people are sat and they just don't know where to turn.
mm,
And it's all ages. So it's something that still it has to be development. But I think the council, because they know all the organizations, that would be easy for them to actually look at that approach. There must be a critical incident approach been
mm.
developed from what we've seen across this city. We've had 10 homicides since January in our city. There has to be a critical incident response where they say this has happened, because it can't just be for the moment. I feel it needs to be ongoing. to
Do you,
give people opportunities who don't want to talk right away, because not everyone wants to talk.
yeah, exactly. And then you know, with trauma, it comes in waves, doesn't it? It doesn't. It's not like it's just, and you might not
And
be ready to start
it's
with. It
very
needs.
difficult because it's a lot of emotions. You go through it. I've been through it. So you go through that, you're sad, you get very angry,
Mm,
and you're up and down. And that's from some that hasn't that's not like a family member to me. So that for the particular family member, and they have to get on with everyday life. They might have other siblings, they got other family, and it's not easy just to get up and be like, we've just got to get on with it, because you will just burn. It will come to a stage where you're just stuck and you're just burnt out and you don't actually know what to do.
mm,
And I think we need to really invest in how we're going to support it, everybody, the whole community. And that
mm,
was part of my speech. Like always gone out and said, look, we have to stand as a community and a city across. So it has to be consistent and it has to be delivered. What we do should be delivered across the whole city, and given that option. It might be different approaches in different communities, but it can still be done because you can adapt it.
What are people saying on the streets? What's your kind of your not view? What you're hearing? Like,
Well, people are scared. Like young people are frightened. In the last 3 months, I've spoke to young people, and I find that even young and old are tooling up, as we would call it. So they're actually you've got older people, which I'm finding they're carrying weapons because they think if they have an argument with a younger person, they're going to pull a weapon on them. So I've had that quite a lot where I'm just like, wow, like you're like 30 and 40 when they're like, well, we haven't got a chance. So I'm like, but we're not actually educating the young people by doing that. Like, the young people have changed their routes, like on walking home, where they like obviously we've had a free incidents at McDonald's. So a
mm,
lot of children now are not going through town, they're going straight home, or their parents are meeting them and getting them out of town. Um, and it's just the people are actually, when holidays come, it's really busy for me. When there's a holiday, I get a lot of messages and a lot of emails because
mm,
people start worrying. And then when there's like multiple police cars or something, it could be something totally unrelated, but
mm,
people are like, wow, something terrible's happened. And I do get quite a lot of like people contact me, even people from not just Bristol, from other cities. So I work with people up and down the country that all rule out the same bleed kits, and we all talk and we all share experiences and we help each other out. So there's other organisations around the southwest and up north where if I
mm.
can get them like I'm going into all the ASDAs, do fundraising, and then we put kits out. So that's now been offered out up and down the UK with other ASDAs and people that are doing the same thing. And it's collaboration. It's giving that opportunity for
Mm.
everyone to be part of something.
You know, I was only chatting to someone the other day. You might know her. Do you know Laura Parker from Artcliffe?
No,
No. Basically, I
I
mean,
might,
our
but
detached team, for
yeah,
example, which is, as you know what it is, but
yeah,
going out on the streets, engaging young people
yeah,
where they are. And we've been doing it for years, and it's all across South Bristol every week. Not as much as it should be. One session a week isn't enough,
yeah.
but
No,
it is what it is. We do various other things, but specifically, I'm saying about that because it links with what you were saying. It's like all of those different teams: Knoll West, Engrove, Artcliffe, Withywood, Bedminster before, Stop they're not seeing many young people. And it is all to do with the change in atmosphere, the change in, like, you can feel it,
yeah.
how young people feel, what they look like when they're walking down the
They don't
streets,
feel safe.
where they previously were out.
Yeah,
And the reasons for them being out are multiple, and all the stuff you
yeah,
already know, like they won't necessarily can't be at home for different reasons, don't want
yeah,
to be at home, limited provisions that are around, youth provisions that are around in the
yeah.
evening. Some of those provisions are around, they're really good, doing great stuff for people, but not everyone will get in, or they might not be behaving in the right way, so they won't get in. So people hang out in these clusters, these groups. Those groups get bigger and bigger based on the fact that if you're hanging around,
Yeah.
you're more likely to hang around in that group, because if you're not in that group, you're probably going to get your head
Mm.
kicked in. So
Yeah.
you grow and grow and grow. This has been happening for years. And then when you're doing detached, you meet these groups, you build relationships with them because you know where they're going to be. And all right, they might be doing things they shouldn't be doing, but you're there, that supportive
Yeah.
network. That's changing.
Yeah, very much so.
And where are those young people going now?
That's what we don't know. That's where we need to find out where they are, because they're not all in their house.
No. So I don't know, I'm not
I
saying it for
don't
a
know the
fact, but I
answer,
mean,
but I
I
know
can
what
only
you
talk
mean.
about.
It's changing. They don't feel safe, and they are, whatever they're doing, we need to, it's getting them engaged,
Mm,
because it's not fair. It's summer holidays. I'm like, as kids, your summer holiday, it used to be really, really good. It was the best time you could go out, do
mm,
different things. But there's nowhere for them to go. And then when they're in multiple groups, there's like, they are challenged.
mm.
And it's gang. They'll say it's a gang, and it's just a group of friends. And I know that from personal experience. You will get labeled as a gang. If there's 3 or 4 of you, you're a gang. But it's
Mm,
not, and it's necessary. You're just a group of friends, but they're not even going in town no more.
mm.
Like town, everyone's frightened of town. Um, like they might go down and they just like hit 2 shops and come back because they don't want to be, everyone's frightened. Cabot Circus, it's
Yeah.
got its own issues. A Cabot Circus, broad daylight, you've got machetes being drawn. And where do children eat McDonald's? That McDonald's in Cabot Circus has been plagued with serious violence, and it's been in daylight, and it's young people and
That
older
trauma,
people.
even if you're not involved in it, or you hear about it, you
Yeah.
know about it, it sticks you down. I mean, I even think about some of the projects that we delivered where it's for young people from across the city.
Yeah.
No one wants to bloody travel.
No.
For obvious reasons. There's certain like people that
Yeah.
blatantly would really, need the support
It's
and benefit.
postcodes. It's this postcode,
But it
and a
won't.
lot of people won't believe it. I've had arguments with people. They're like, "There's no postcode." Yes, there is.
Yes.
And you talk to kids, and it's like we can't go across borders like we're in America. Like we're not
Yeah.
and that's what they don't realize. They're frightened. They'll go in and out, and it's sad. It's really sad that it's come to that.
We've had, just to give that a bit of an example on that, we had someone that was coming to the year-long gap program that literally had to get walked in to the centre of town every session by 3 or 4 mates.
Yeah.
I was just like, I mean, they were saying it, I was thinking, is this a little bit of like over exaggeration? I was just like,
No, I've known young people that want to come to college in
it's
South
mad, isn't
Bristol
it?
and go the long way round. So then this is another thing. They're late for lessons, and they're not wearing, if they have uniform, they won't have it on because they don't want people to know where they're going. So then
Mm.
they go in the bathroom, take a bit longer to get changed. And that's the things that people need to be looking out for. Not necessarily saying, "Oh, you're late, you're not attending."
We need to be
Work
aware
with
of it,
that
don't we? Yeah.
individual to actually keep them in college, because sometimes college and school is safer, is a very safe place. When
Mm.
COVID, the colleges was open because some young people that was their safe place. This is all, where's it all gone?
It's
I
got to
don't
get
know.
fed as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually get food.
And I don't know what's happening this summer. But these places need to be open. We need open spaces. We need safe places where they feel safe.
Yeah. Going back a little bit, do you think there's things we've done in the past that have worked? Do you know what I mean? What are the solutions to this? I mean, no one's got,
No, I
and
don't
there's no
know.
one
Yeah.
solution. But is there things, in your
I
previous
think,
history of
I
working and
think
doing
day
this kind of stuff?
trips. I think day trips is like, a lot of young people don't have the opportunity to go out because it's expensive. If there's a family of 3 or 4, it's quite expensive to do trips. And I
Mm.
think we need to revert back to that, because I remember we used to get on coaches and go to Weymouth for the day. And it was the excitement and the build up for it because we were leaving our communities. And I spent many years here doing on a school PTA. So I used to take young children down to the Hippodrome at Christmas.
Yeah.
So I used to get a coach, take them down for minimal money, make them goodie bags so you didn't have to spend no money at the Hippodrome, and they'd go and watch the pantomime. And half of them wouldn't have been able to do it because it's quite expensive. And they were like, "Oh, it's not for everyday people." Well, it is. And it's just a case of covering the cost of a coach, getting you down there and getting you back. So I think them things to get you out of your community, it broadens their horizons, and it shows them there's more to living in Bristol. There's more going on. Some people have never seen a beach.
Well, they haven't seen town.
Yeah.
You're talking about Hippodrome.
Well,
They
yeah.
haven't
So
even been
that
to the
them
centre of town.
things really, I think, is really effective and can work. But then again, it's down to money.
It's really painful to hear this because I know organisations are doing that, but the
Yeah.
point is, it's not as widespread as what we'd hope, and that's not
No.
their fault. It's
No.
just
It's down-
and
yeah.
some people will need more support to engage in stuff like that because their initial reaction would be F that.
Yeah.
that's whatever.
Yeah. Not for
They
us.
need to have someone,
Yeah.
don't they? They need to have role models. They need to have people with that trusted
Engaging
relationship,
with them.
which will then over
Yeah.
time will break down those barriers and support them to give things a try. And
Yeah.
suddenly when the barriers are down, and sometimes it's that moment, isn't it? It's that
Yeah.
literally that moment they've just been involved in something, maybe a friend's been stabbed or something horrible's happened, and then they're open to
The light
change.
bulb comes on and
And
they're
at
like, "We
that
don't
point,
want
we need
this."
to have
Yeah.
enough people that are out there that are there to support
Yeah.
people that can react to offer those opportunities.
Most
And
definitely.
and then that might be the
Yeah, it
catalyst.
might be, hopefully. But it's having it there. And it's never gonna be at the right time, at the right moment. It's just
Well, I think it
it's
can be.
really
I'm optimistic.
hard
It
to
can be,
it's
but
having the
it's
service available.
mm.
It's, yeah, it's difficult. It's really hard on the funding and the cuts. It's so hard.
Let me I'm kind of freestyling a bit with this.
That's right.
One, I can't see anything, and two, I can't read my own mind. But if there's, is there anything now? Because I mean, like I said ages ago, when I said, "Is there anything I can do to help?" and like I meant it, like I'm not just saying it, but obviously there's limited capacity and stuff. Is there anything other people could do to help you and your team and Tyrell to go out and support others to not get involved in this kind of stuff in life crime, or to know
Yeah,
what to do if
yeah.
anything happens? What can other people do to help?
They can just contact me. So you can make contact with me. I will come out and do awareness. So I've spoke to many organisations and youth provisions, and I'm happy to come out throughout the summer, set up a table, show you, do awareness on the bleed kits and what how to use the contents. And this basically we work together. The more it's out there, the more you'll know what's going on. And I think the more that people see me and other organizations working together, that's where you're going to build that trust. So I've gone into provisions and they're like, "This is Leanne, she's a safe person." Like if you want to talk to them, because they might not necessarily want to talk to everyone, but there are times where I've turned up and people have spoken to me and wanted to talk about things that are going on. So and it's really nice. That's how, like you said, that's how you build relationships and to know that they're safe. But I'm open to any organization that wants to come and say, "Look, let's do something collaborative." I do a lot of work now collaborative with NHS and like summer fairs and things that are going on within different communities. And I will come out if I've got the time and I can spare them hours. I will come out and I will do it. It's just to make it so that we can work collaborative in partnership. It's, that's the only way forward. If we're all going to start tugging and fighting over money, you ain't going to get nowhere if you don't work together, because I don't see the result. Yeah, everyone wants money, but it's not about money. Your time.
Oh, what happens to those
Yeah,
young people?
it's building it up, and it's our young people, because we're, we don't want to keep losing them. And we say it all the time. We have a case review. It won't happen again. And it has. And it's very, very sad. And if we can prevent it, then let's do it. Let's get working together and stop it.
Well, yeah, much needed. And I hope people that, that may listen to this might, reach out to you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something that we're just about to do in September. It's called Youth Gap. It's for teenagers.
Yeah.
It's specifically targeting young people from Knoll West and Artcliffe. It's basically lots of different positive activities with discussion points at each of those sessions. So young people getting learning, but it's not like a college workshop. It's fun.
Yes.
They come together, and then there's targeted things that we're challenging them with to open up the discussion. Main thing is bring them together, doing something positive, and then supporting them afterwards to do something that positively impacts in their communities. To show that there are role models within those communities. It ain't going to be easy. I know it's not.
No.
Because straight away the answer with our detached workers out on the streets, chatting to young people in different places is like, I ain't effing going over there. I'm not doing it. And it's the impact on them when they're not at the sessions. How the rest of the people, the young people in their community treat them. So I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to give it a try because it's the right thing to do. And I'd love to. We're at the moment we're organising it, but I think it feels like it's something that would fit. And maybe you and Tyrell to come over and we pay you to do some kind of session, because the obvious things that are going to come up are going to be
knife crime,
the stuff that's gone on in those communities.
Yeah.
Why aren't people coming together? What are the similarities? What are the differences?
Yeah.
What's the things that happen? What's the impact
and we
of those
can
things?
Support them together, and that's what they need. If they see that us as communities and organizations are working together, they
Mm,
feel more supported. When it's, if you're pulling at each other, oh, they're doing this and they're doing that, the consistency needs to be. So, and I feel that we need to not be delivering to one area. We
mm,
do not need to re traumatize communities. Whatever's
mm,
done in one should be done across the whole of the city in different communities,
mm.
even if it has to be tailored or adapted. We can't keep just plowing everything in. Oh, we've had something serious happen here. It needs to be across the whole city.
Have
So
you
that,
done? I was just thinking, you said earlier on about that each one teach one, and that was
yeah,
funny enough. Like that was, I mean,
that's a
that
CIC. So that's someone I'm working closely with. And that's like trauma informed. So they're called Each One Teach One.
yeah,
It's Tatiana and Dayton Powell.
yeah,
And they are delivering out a retreat. So it's something that's coming together. And it's about trauma, and
mm,
there's counselors involved. So it's the impact after or before, but
mm.
preferably after, so that individuals can be supported.
I mean, that's all part of the solution, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking out loud because part of the program, there's a bit of each one teach one, which just as the saying, not as anything
Yeah.
else, to the fact that young people have certain interests, and actually it's about the things that they're passionate about, they're interested in, they know about. They teach other people
Yeah.
just to give them a bit of
Yeah.
self confidence of what they're capable of and a bit of belonging, all those kind of things.
Just empowering them, really, innit? Empowering young people to say you
Exactly.
can do it. Once you know how to do it, you can do it. So that's another thing where
But I was going to say, the point I was going to say with
yeah.
that is that happening with the Bleed Kids? Because that would be the
That's
thing, wouldn't it?
that's a
You can't
step.
do
Yeah,
everything,
I
can you?
know.
You need
That's
other
a
people and
step to bring
communities.
ambassadors. So I want young people. It's not training, so it's awareness training. You're not actually a trainer. You can't go out and train people. So
Mm,
you have awareness training, but eventually you have ambassadors where they actually can come out, and they're young people that step forward and say, "Look, I've been on the awareness training. Then I would like to come out and deliver to young people." So
yeah.
then I could have like a few young people that learn it, and we can then go and teach others
Mm.
within the community. So that's a step.
That's where
But
you'll get
yeah,
engagement from more young people
and
because young people are
because they
leading it.
recognize young people and people of their own age. Whereas me, I come along, is very systematic, but if
Yeah.
there's a young person that's been taught it and they know the contents,
Maybe
then
been through it.
yeah,
I will put you in contact with a couple of those young people, like I said, that were part of
yeah.
trying to help when someone was stabbed, and like,
Yeah, and
because
just
they might
see
be
if we can
someone.
get them talking to try and get their
No, but they might
trauma
want to
out,
be
and they
involved.
might want to, yeah,
And
most
by
definitely.
you have to think about what we can do, but by getting you involved in Youth Gap, potentially that might be a way of opening up the opportunity to some of those young people from Arkcliffe and Knoll
Yeah.
about them potentially by the end of the program, because I don't think it happens straight away. By the end
No,
of the program, maybe
yeah,
then stepping back in and thinking, okay, I could,
go out and tell someone how to do it because I know how to
yeah,
do it,
yeah,
and
and
that's
maybe that
it.
might be supporting
Yeah,
you or whatever
yeah,
it is.
most definitely. I'm open to that.
Okay, my little pea brain, I can hear it going. Look, I'm gonna hit you with a question, but sometimes people think, "Oh my, where did this come from?" And
Yeah,
I'm
go for
questioning
it
it a
then.
little bit.
Go.
It's pretty big. It's pretty massive.
Yeah,
There's no right or wrong
I'll hold the
answer.
table. Look, ready. Brace
Brace
myself.
yourself. You probably when you hear it, you're like,
Go on.
well, the podcast is called "What Really Matters," and I
Yeah.
always finish the podcast by asking people. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be connected with the work you're doing. It could be connected with your values or how you
Hmm.
think about the world, or your community, your family, whatever it might be. But what really matters to you? If you had to say in a sentence about those things, what are they?
We need to bring back love, and we need to start we need to s- we need love back in our communities. It's gone, and it's really sad to see. I grew up in Bristol. I have left and traveled the world and gone different places and come back to my hometown, and the violence is gone through the roof. It's sad. And it's I don't want to see young people dying, especially ones that I've worked with. It's triggering for a lot of people, and they've lost loved ones, and then you hear it's happened again, and it's re-traumatizing and re-triggering for so many people. I don't have the solutions and the answers for everything, but I think we need to bring back love. We need to start. Back when I was younger, my parents knew my friends' parents, and you need to start knowing where your children are and who they're with. It's not necessarily that we're not telling you that they can't go out, but know who your children are with. They've got these phones, they're not monitoring the phones. You need to bring back a bit of discipline. You are the parent. The support is there, and I do know it's hard. I'm a parent, and it's not easy. There's so much going on, and there's so much technology and things that have come out since I was young, and the mobile phone is
The
a
telephone
big,
was around when you were
yeah,
young,
but the
not the
mobile is really a big thing. A
Yeah.
lot goes on young
Yeah.
people's mobile phones, and if you're not aware of it, it happens in a minute.
Mm.
I just want love to come back. Love thy neighbor is quite simple. Know who's around you and know who your kids are with. You are the adult in the house. You can look in their room. If you find something, then look for support. Yeah, you can, you can message me. I take emails. There are people it's confidential space. And if I can get you the support, I've worked in many organizations. There is referrals that can be made. I have mental health training, lived experience to a certain degree, and I'm happy to help anyone. And make referrals for them to ensure that they get that support that they need.
Yeah. Look, I mean, thanks for coming on.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
sharing everything you do. Thanks for doing everything you do.
Thank you. And you.
And I guess the thing is as well, it's like, you can't do it all on your own, and
No.
you know that, but like there is something when you're talking about love, and I thought about this the other day when we were thinking about questions for Youth Gap, and one of the things is saying to the young people, because it's kind of like it's an inside and an outside thing.
Yeah.
Do you love yourself? Not like do you love yourself, but
No,
like
no,
do we ask
yeah.
that? Do we say to young people, "Are you lovable? Do you love yourself?"
It's a
And
real big
if you
step.
don't have any self-worth for yourself, how you act and react outwardly is never going to be something that shows you in your best light.
Yeah, it's massive.
So it is love your neighbour and love others, but love yourself. And I think that is going to need a lot of support
And
to
value
do,
yourself as well. Value yourself as an individual.
because everyone's got something to offer, and we know that.
Yeah,
and,
everybody has. It's just knowing what it is and how to deliver it and how to get your message out there. But yeah.
We're getting there. Keep doing what you're doing.
And I shall be seeing you soon.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Take care.